Okay, we're going to be painting with coffee today. Coffee is a good medium if you do not have any watercolors or any other kind of paint at home, and it's kind of fun to paint with. I'm boiling some water, and I am going to make 3 different concentrates of coffee. So I added some instant coffee to the bowl, and I added a little bit of hot water to it, mixing it up. And then I'm going to use this concentrate. Oh, it's not dark enough, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the instant coffee so I can get a thicker consistency. And then I'm going to divide this up into the 3 cups and then add water to the other 2 cups in different amounts because I want a dark, a medium dark, and a light. Alright, so I've divvied it up. Now I'm going to take my boiling water and I'm going to add a little bit to that one and a little bit more to that one. Now what I'm looking for in the spoon is 3 different colors, and I will show you here in a second. I'm stirring it up. Alright, you can see that this one is way more transparent. It's the lightest. This one is a little more red. That's the medium. And this one will look more black. That's my dark. Alright, so I'm good. So I take it back to my table, and I need a pencil, paintbrushes, water cup, the 3 paints, a white plate so I can see the color better, a paper towel, some paper, and then I have a little piece of test strip paper that I've labeled dark to light. So here I am going to test my paints out. I'm going to put the darkest color, and then I'm going to try to make it darker, because it's not as dark as I thought it would be. Alright, now on the middle one, and then the lightest one, so I can see what that looks like. So now I'm going to try it again, except I'm going to put it a little thicker. And basically I'm just playing around right now with the different consistencies and seeing what kind of variance I can get with the colors. And testing out how much water I need to add to get the different values. So I'm going to do it again. This one, after I do this one, I'm going to go ahead and blot it off fairly quickly so that I can see what the difference is depending on how long I leave the color on the paper before I dab it with the paper towel. So you can see most of that came off. Even that dark one came off pretty good. And I'm going to do the one that I did first, and you can see how it is darker. So the longer it sits on that paper, the more the paper will absorb the color. Right now I'm going to get a nice neutral base over my entire eye. I'm trying to be cognizant of the lighter areas on the paper and leaving those with the white space. Monochromatic. Monochromatic color, it means one color. It means I'm going to be painting this whole eye with the one color, the brown. So I have a nice base layer. I'm blotting some areas off because it's looking a little darker. And you know, this is an experiment for me too. I like my watercolors for sure. And this was fun to work with, a little trickier than a lot more tricky than the watercolors, but still fun to work with nonetheless. So I've added my base tone. Now I'm going to go and start adding in my darks. So with my test sheet, I realized that I'm going to have to layer the colors, like put some on, let it dry, and add some more to develop a real rich dark, because once I blot it with the paper towel, it ends up really light. So I'm kind of laying it heavier in some areas and letting the paper kind of absorb some of that color so I can build up the darkers and the light, so I can create contrast. Contrast defined by difference. I want a difference between my darks and my lights because that's what's really going to make my eye pop. Because see, right now it's just those maybe 2-3 subtle tones. So I realized I needed to make a darker one. So I went back to the kitchen and I put a lot more of the grounds in the little cup and added just a little bit of water. It was kind of sticky, so I just added a little bit more water because I didn't want it too sticky, because I know once it dries on the paper it's going to leave like this gloss effect. Alright, so with my darker dark, I'm going to do another little test strip just to see how much darker it is than the other ones. It looks like it might be as dark as that first one I did, but I used less to make that as dark as it was. So here I am, I'm going to start building up the darks. And you'll see I'll dab it with the paper towel and it'll still lighten up pretty good. So I really do need to spend time to build up these layers. So I'll put a layer down, blot it off or let it sit, and then I'll put another layer on and try to just develop this. Another thing I noticed, yeah, I dabbed it off. Another thing you'll notice with these watercolors is they kind of run and bleed. So I was trying not to add too much water to the different ones, but you just got to kind of play around with it, make it work for you. It doesn't have to look perfect. It's just fun, and it can look artistic and runny. And it does not just have to look like your picture. You can pick whatever picture you want. I picked a picture of my eye just because it was in my phone, and I thought, you know what, this looks like it'd be really fun to paint with watercolor. So if you want to paint your eye, if you want to paint a tree, go ahead. The whole point of this is I want you to experiment with a new medium, which is the instant coffee. Now, I did use instant coffee. If you do not have access to instant coffee and you have access to regular coffee, you will have to let your grounds seep in that boiling water for longer. You won't get, I don't think you're gonna get quite as dark as this unless it sits for a while, because your grounds may be more coarse. If you maybe have espresso at your house and let that sit, that'll probably get you a nice richer dark than a regular ground coffee, because the espresso grounds are much finer and they will dissolve quicker. Well, not dissolve, but you know what I mean. Alright, so I'm still developing the eye. I'm adding those darker darks. I'm letting them sit. Creating the texture in the eye. See, again, I'm working on getting that dark layer in the middle. And then adding the shadows. If you're not wanting to sit and wait for it to dry, use a hair dryer. I'm using a little heat gun to go ahead and dry it. And now I'm using a white jelly pen or gel pen to create some of the highlights that I kind of lost when I was painting and this paint was running everywhere. And I'm putting some whites back in. You can order these pens on Amazon, or you can buy them at Hobby Lobby. All right, you guys go try it, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun. And why don't you leave your images in the comments so I can see how you're doing.